Hi, this is Zach here with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe, the weekend edition for Sunday, the 14th of September. Starting off with the FTSE 100, where we're in this rising trend channel in place since the beginning of June. For the channel there at around 91.80, above that, looking for the top of the channel, 95.15, perhaps as soon as the end of next month. I suppose we're very lucky we might get there by the end of this month, but need to stay on the right side of 9200, I think, as a minimum. RSI at 60, which is in a good place for further gains, even though we did back off the record level on Friday of 93.40 versus the old peak at 93.57 from last month. Maybe on to the DAX, and here, just trying to hold on to the floor of that channel there, that rising trend channel from back in April. The floor there, the support line there, nominally around the 23,600 zone, and we've obviously spent most of the last week or two, in fact, most of the month, trying to hold that area. Slightly negative that we got the 50-day moving average falling there at 24,070, and also the RSI back below the neutral 50 level, well below it actually, at just under 44. Various failures for the RSI below that level, so still have the risk of a break to the downside, either the August support there around 23,300, or worst case that we're expecting at the moment, 23,000, which is post June support there. Probably easiest here to wait for an end of day close either above the 50-day line or RSI 50, otherwise just stand aside. The Dow is next, and here it was all about and is all about holding 45,000, which we're doing rather well at the moment. Here you can see that we've got the 50-day line, 44,800, the old resistance area, 45,000, while we're above that combination, so 44,800, looking for the top of the channel there. From May last year, as high as 47,500 by the end of next month. Obviously, that could be by the end of this month if we are lucky. Worst case at the moment, probably no lower than 44,000, although really we're looking for the 50-day line to come in as support. Onto the cryptos, and it was a better end to the week for the cryptos, especially for the Bitcoin situation, where finally companies got a bit quiet about buying more Bitcoin. But here we've had the second part of the week above the 50-day line there at 114,500. Above that, really looking for clearance of 120. Best case by the end of next month up to 132,000 at the top of that rising trend channel from back in February. RSI at 58, so in a good place for a break to the upside, especially while we're above that 50-day line. On to Ethereum, where I suppose the hopes are that this is going to break to the upside more easily than Bitcoin. The current situation is that we are trying to approach the old resistance there from last month, the peak there towards the 5,000 level. In fact, we're looking for 5,500 at the top of the rising trend channel there from the beginning of July. And we're looking for that by the end of next month, while we remain above the 50-day moving average at the floor of the channel, 42.48. RSI at 60, so in a good place for further move to the upside. Also, we've had support for this market coming in well above the 50-day line, and RSI 50 rebounds as well in the recent past. Gold is next, where I suppose trying to work out whether it's dollar weakness or gold strength or store of value strength or gold hoarding, which is doing the trick here. But rising trend channel there since April, top of the channel there at 38.50, which is what we're looking for by the end of next month, while we remain above the recent resistance and support around the 3600 level. I suppose ideally, even if there is a rug pull, we'll stay above the old April resistance at 35.11. Moving on to the stocks, and good fundraise from Artemis, and that's caused the shares to break out of that falling wedge and break above the 50-day line there at 0.36 pence. Above that, we're looking for up to 0.58 by the end of next month, especially after the recent support bounces off a rising 50-day line that we've had for the shares. Next up is Atome, where a bit surprised that after such a great RNS that the company had at the end of last week, in fact, it was on Friday, the shares were only up 22%, but I suppose given the history of the company, maybe some people are actually getting out on the good news rather than getting in. Need to see a break of 68 pence and that red November resistance line projection If we can do that, then it's up to as high as £1 by the end of next month, but only on a proper break of that red resistance line. Moving on to Bradda ahead, where people have grown old waiting for the shares to finally, and waiting for the company to finally get over the line. You can see that we've been in a basically 3-year downtrend for the stock, and finally breaking out this week, or breaking higher this week. Here you can see we're well above the old February resistance now, around 1.25 pence, and looking for 1.75 pence by the end of next month, especially while we remain on the right side of that 200-day moving average at 1.08. On to Cizzle, where the shares have been rising in recent days, the last couple of days, on no news. I don't think there's been any news there for best part of a month, so maybe somebody is guessing successfully, or will be guessing successfully, that there is going to be some news here. 2.8 pence, the top of that broadening triangle. We're looking at that while we're above recent broken resistance at 1.75 pence. On to one of the stocks of the summer. The summer seems to be fading here. We've got Defence Holdings bouncing off a previous target there. Second target around 1.25 pence. Above that, we're looking at 2 pence. Hopefully by the end of this month. Best case would be up to 3 pence, and that April resistance line projection by the end of next month. And if we do get there, I hope that there won't be other people trying to claim the credit for that particular number, because that's the one that we've come up with here. The other point to note is that we've got an uptrend line in the RSI window where the shares have bounced off quite well to end the week, so that is also a positive. Moving on to a stock which I haven't covered for a while, which is EQTEC, and here you can see that there's been a bit of a bear trap rebound from below the January support there, around 0.4 pence, 0.42. Look at the shares to get to the top of the range towards 0.6 pence by the end of next month, even if nothing else happens. Obviously, the fundamentals of the company have been rather painful in the recent past, but let's see if the technicals can defy that. Obviously, we had the proposed capital reorganization last month, which never really sounds very good, does it? Moving on to Fulcrum, and here you can see that had a bit of a bounce there. Second time lucky, hopefully, on breaking the 200-day line there around current levels. So an end of day close through 5.8, and looking for up to 10 pence by the end of next month. If everything goes well, which hopefully it will, on the second time lucky through that 200-day line. The initial target here around that level, 5.75, 5.8 pence. Moving on to a stock which has been a chronic underperformer, but we're hoping for at least a little rebound now. We've already had it, in fact, and looking for best case scenario target here, 1.75, while we're above recent support, and the 50-day line on the right side of 1 pence. You can see several RSI 50 rebounds, well, 4 at least in the recent past, so that is giving the shares a rather better look than they've had for quite some time. On to Harena, which I interviewed, I think, this week or earlier this week. Here we've got a rising trend channel base. Top of the channel there at 2.1 pence. We're looking at that by the end of this month. Possibly much more if we can stay above the 50-day line there at 1.47, which hopefully we can do. On to Hemogenyx, which second only to ImmuPharma has been one of the best calls here in a long, long time. The shares were already called up from near the lows, and we're on various targets here. What's interesting now is that above the previous target there, 9.2 pence, we are looking for a final target this month as high as 12 pence. So let's see if Hemogenyx can deliver the goods. You can see there have been a couple of RSI 50 plus rebounds over the recent past. Another lap of honour with ImmuPharma, especially after the interview on Friday, which I thought was one of the best small cap interviews, largely spoken by Tim McCarthy himself. I tended to be quite quiet in that one. Above the 11 pence level, which was a previous target here, the fourth or fifth target, looking for 18 pence by the end of this month, or hopefully a bit sooner. If we get to 18 pence, might be running out of targets there on that one. Moving on to Mast, where the feeling here was that the RNS that we had on Tuesday was a bit of a damp squib, but it was rather largely irrelevant and probably shouldn't have been put out, but obviously it was put out. So there was a dip to buy into, and perhaps an opportunity for those who missed the shares on the way up to get in the 60 pence zone, between 60 and 80 pence at least. A nice end of day close and nice end of week close for the shares above a rising 50-day line. Hopefully, the next level up here will be a previous target there towards £1.40, which was also an old resistance. But £1.40 we're looking for here, while we remain above that 50-day moving average. If there is one missing piece of the jigsaw, it is that the RSI is still at 45, so it needs to get back above that neutral 50 level to confirm that the danger of the worst being over is finally over. On to stock which I haven't looked up for ages, which is Shuka, and here you can see it is a bear trap iron reversal, so gapping down last month and then gapping up this month. Didn't quite get above the 200-day line. The stock seems to have a bit of a habit of fading above the 200-day line, but end of day close above that 200-day line around 4.3 pence. We could be looking at a retest of 7 pence June resistance by the end of this month on the basis of that bear trap iron reversal and the uptrend line in the RSI window. Finishing off with Trellus, and here you can see that got the hint here that we've overshot to the downside. There's an uptrend line in the RSI window, which I've just drawn. And also, it looks as though that gap down will be filled pretty soon. End of week close back above the old lows there at 0.6. Above 0.6, looking for a minimum of 0.8 to fill the gap. And then, obviously, maybe 1 pence plus by the end of next month. But just waiting, I suppose, on an end of day close back above RSI 50 and back above the 50-day moving average. That would help. That's it from me today. More updates in the normal way during the week.